also be for when like Rogue's Passage or Westphale are pretty bad.
Sure.
So it might just be that extra land to sub in. We've seen them start, Ben having, land into Blister Pod and Justin Chung just double caves of Koilos. It looks like, quite a negative start to his mana base. It basically tells us that going forward, he's going to have quite a painful road. He didn't do anything on turn 1, there wasn't like a duress or anything, so it tells us he doesn't have a tap land, which will be painless, or he probably doesn't have like a plains or a swamp either. So he will be taking some pain. I wouldn't be surprised if the only other land he had was a Westvale Abbey. But let's have a look at their hands.
Yeah, it does look like he probably doesn't have too many other lands. It will be interesting to see in this round whether Ben can get off to the explosive starts that this green-black deck is capable of. We do see the Cryptolith Rites come down there on turn 2, tap the Blisterfod for mana to play a second one, and we can already see how everything becomes a mana dork in this deck.
So Justin's hand was double Read the Bones, Gideon, Siren, Transgressor, double Caves of Koilos.
Yeah.
Unmatching.
Yes, those ones don't match. It's
and it doesn't look like you drew his third land from what I can see. Since Ben's untapped, Justin was on the play. Ben kept double Forest, double Westphale, Blisterpod, Cryptolith, Right, and Tuco Husk. Not the strongest of starts, but it looks like it's panning well from him, having drawn another Blisterpod at the very least, and some Catacomb Sifters. It's a Catacomb Sifter we're going to see come down now. I assume the Liliana is going to come out after the Nantuko Husk.
Yeah. So yeah, just seeing Cryptolith Rites let Ben cast his spells despite his mana base being a little bit awkward here.
Wow, Justin doesn't draw a third land.
Oof.
Having a chat with the guys before this round started, Ben was like, yeah, I can see how Justin's going to beat me just looking at all the rats that Justin's playing, but those rats cost more than 2 mana, so...
They do.
I think at this point Ben could... a little bit less now, but he could have just like stopped playing creatures for a little bit and just beaten down with everything, including the Scion.
Yeah, I almost feel the opposite. I almost feel like you want to keep committing because Justin is like multiple lands away from a Languish, so you just want to get him dead.
Multiple lands and a Languish away from Languish.
Yeah, I mean, having the Languish, Ben obviously doesn't know that too much, but there are 4 in Justin's deck. It's getting pretty decent odds that he'll have one. But we'll see if Ben opts to play this Liliana here and forgoes a couple of damage from attacking.
Interestingly enough, if Justin's deck had been something like a Dromoka's Command deck, or a deck with enchantment removal, he could have really punished Ben for only having green sources here.
Yeah, that's very true. That is very true. Ben does use that Cryptolith Rites with the Eldrazi Scion and the Blisterpod to make the double black mana to cast the Liliana. It gets in for 1 point with the other Blisterpod and then just says go. The last card in his hand, I believe it's only one more card, was a Westvale Abbey. Husk being transgressed earlier.
I see. I missed that. It looks like he's drawn a Den Protector? No, that's a Lone Dryad.
Yeah, so we got a Lone Dryad.
Justin missing his land drop again. I think if Justin doesn't start drawing lands in the next couple of turns, we might just be going to game 2 here, simply because it might be a bit far for him to come back. That being said, Ben's not effectively doing much. He's got some 1/1s and a 2/3.
He is so close to activating Westvale and getting the Profane Prince out there.
Secure the wastes for 1.
Secure for 1 to block a Blisterpod or a Scion. Not feeling great. But you do what you got to do, I guess. But yeah,
never feels good.
No.
Secure the Waste feels fantastic. It's just like it never felt good going as Sphinx's ref for 1.
Yeah.
But Sphinx's ref for 15 was amazing.
Yeah, does feel slightly better.
It's like I remember playing the deck in Standard and rev for 15, rev for 15, and in Modern you're like rev for 2 because the John deck stripped my hand.
Okay, so it looks like sort of after blocks, Justice blocked the Scion token as to not flip Liliana when sort of creature dies. Ben sacked that, used the mana to activate one of his Westvale Abbeys to make a Cleric. And yeah, he's just really on the game plan here of just getting 5 creatures in play, I think, and getting that Profane Prince out there.
Yeah, that's the game. Yeah.
And that is the power of Cryptolith Rites, again, is just the ability to make so much mana with these dorky creatures when you're going to sacrifice them to the Abbey.
Yeah.
So, yeah, letting him flip his Liliana and, you know, make the Profane Prince sort of all at once kind of thing. We'll see what he drew this turn. It's Catacomb
I
Sifter.
believe he has a cutthroat in hand.
That's Catacomb Sifter's pretty good here as well, because that puts 2 bodies.
5 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's Ormondal. And a bunch of scries.
Okay, it looks like Ben's just going to sit back on it and go to attacks here. Get in with his Liliana as Blister Pods.
If he attacks, he can't activate Westvale.
Yeah, it is sort of an interesting decision point. It looks like he's choosing to just get in there. Yep, so I imagine what Ben's thinking is just to get in for a couple of damage and then have Ormondal as sort of a final lethal swing in one go.
Yeah.
But honestly, you know, Justin had to draw lands like
Yeah.
1 or 2 turns ago to have a chance of coming back in this
Do you
game.
think
So
he has any chance?
no, I think he's basically just at actual 0% here now. Just because he can't hope to draw a board wipe or something like that to sort of reset the situation, because he needs to have 2 mana extra, and yeah, he just didn't manage to get there.
So we're seeing Ben Scry. He looks like he's kept this 5. He's kept Swamp, Forest, Coco, Liliana, and Zulaport Cutthroat. For a 5, it's probably as good as you're gonna get. Draws another land. So let's see this game.
Yeah, I think he'd prefer to have a Visionary, but other than that, like, that is the hand you
He
want.
can still
when you're
draw
on
into
5.
one. He did Scry to the bottom, so he's willing to dig to that. Draws another Cutthroat, so he's still going to turn 2 play. Like we said before, Justin Ten's pretty slow. Like this turn, he drew the duress, but he's probably going to read the bones, or he could transgress duress as an alternative. Read the
Yeah,
bones.
it just goes for the read the bones to develop things.
I could actually see casting a duress there, because your turn 3 and turn 4 plays are potentially very defined. Like, you can go turn 3, read the bones into not closing the door, so it makes it hard for me to talk about the hand. So I'm gonna go do that.
Yeah, I think ideally he would want to. He wants to duress sort of next turn to get the maximum likelihood of preventing a collected company.
Yeah.
I don't love the idea of just slamming sort of a Gideon here, but maybe it's good enough because it gets pressure onto Ben.
I mean, Ben has to hit that other land drop for him to company. Have we seen him do that yet?
That's true, he doesn't have the land. I just think that when your opponent's on a... Like, it's sort of an awkward thing. Like, he's on a mulligan to 5, you want to kill him, so you want to put pressure on him, so playing the Gideon's cool. But he's also on a mulligan to 5, and you don't want him to play his best card, Collected Company, there. So it does look like Ben didn't hit the land, so we'll see whether he's going to go...
His hand is currently double ultimate price, Cutthroat Company.
Yeah, it's interesting sort of whether he's going to go for a second Cutthroat here, just to defend against potential sort of kill spells, or if he's going to go for a sort of ultimate price your Knight and then attack Gideon. It doesn't kill Gideon, which is sort of a pretty big detriment to that line, but it does...
I think you're just reserving those ultimate prices for the Colinuses.
That's fair, that's fair.
Like, it's a Gideon token, it can't even profitably block your Liliana here. And putting Gideon to 1 is about the same as putting it to 2.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. So
I can see,
just attacks with Liliana, gets in the 2 points, and plays the second Cutthroat just to defend against the potential languish, I suppose, here. it doesn't even, not defend against it, but make sure you get the maximum amount of value out of your creatures, I suppose.
Yeah, we're going to see that duress.
Yeah.
He's going to hit the company, most likely.
Yeah, so here he's obviously taking the company just because there are 2 ultimate prices there. I don't think he's going to take one of them. I don't know that this is really a situation where you want to battle through the ultimate prices. I think you probably just want to.
Yeah, but if you're Justin, are you ticking up Gideon or are you zeroing?
It's an interesting choice of whether you go for the 0.
Oh.
Okay,
Plays
so
the
we
Kalidas anyway.
just see a Kalidas come out and a 0 on Gideon.
Sure.
This does mean that even though Kalidas is probably going to die, Liliana can't really feasibly attack.
Ben did draw the land.
Ben draws the land now.
Always a turn too
so,
late.
yeah.
Justin does not get punished for casting the Gideon.
No, so it's actually worked out reasonably well for Justin here. So Ultimate Price is getting rid of that Kalidas, and now I think it's so awkward for Ben to attack here. It just feels
I think
like...
if you're swing everything at Gideon, it's not great for your board state, but it's a decent tempo play.
Okay.
He just goes ham with ultimate prices, because I think you either double block the Lily and your Gideon dies, or you block the Zulaport Cutthroat and your Lily still dies, but your Lily also flips. So I think it was not awkward for Ben to attack, but awkward for Justin to block.
I just think that because Ben is hellbent now, it's so difficult for him to give up any position on the board.
Yeah.
The way he's played this here, he does get to kill Gideon. Gideon's dying regardless.
I think Justin's checking whether he can block a Zulaport Cutthroat or whether he just gets maximum punished.
Yeah.
Lily's tick up is almost free now since Ben doesn't have any cards in hand.
Yeah, I think right here... It obviously depends on Justin's hand quite a lot. If he is sitting on, say, Languish or something like that, you just sort of let it through. But I could just see letting it through anyway. Yeah, the tick up is free on Lily if it does flip. It also puts a 2/2 zombie into play. If you block a Zulaport Cutthroat, it's too awkward, I think.
It's another Gideon. He's real good at those. He's playing 4, to be fair, but he doesn't draw up Nixilis like that, and he's playing 3 of those.
That is
He never goes
true.
the waste into huge, of Nixilis.
Huge of Nixilis draw.
Huge of Nixilis
It's
draw.
not quite the same combo, I don't
No,
think.
it's not nearly as explosive, but...
Okay, so it'd be interesting to see whether that Kalidas coming out was a sign that there's a second Kalidas now. But this turn it just looks like Justin's just going to play a Sorin and just get rid of that Liliana straight away.
So he's going to... Oh, he dealt 2 damage to it.
Oh.
It's really awkward. I feel like if you're going to deal 2 damage to it, you probably
That
would have blocked
is-
it with your 2/2. So Justin gains 2 life. Nothing happens there. We have a really awkward situation on our hands. I can actually hear them laughing about it. This is a major step back here. Justin was really punishing Ben for going all in with the ultimate prices, and now he could potentially have a Planeswalker on his hand. Because Justin's just going to spend the next turn either killing the Lily or minusing Sorin. And if one of those cutthroats connects, if 2 of those cutthroats connect, it means that Sorin's not going to be able to do that, so Justin effectively wasted 6 mana.
Yeah, the minus for 2 there is a pretty huge misstep. It's really awkward.
I thought he put the dice on 4 and then was confused, maybe he thought Sorin started on 7.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well.
I think that's what I was hoping for. When Ben brought it back, I was just oh no, dude, is this real life? I think Ben was hell-bent and he was in not a great position, and I think Justin greatly improved his position now. Again, this 2/2 blocks nothing.
If that Sorin had killed that Liliana there and
So
ensured that it can't possibly flip, it can't discard any cards from Justin, it can't get value by bringing back creatures for Ben, I think that, Ben was not realistically coming back by just drawing 1 card per turn. He would have had to go runner on collecting companies to realistically get there. Probably
That's
would have
really
featured a
unfortunate.
Westvale, but now, yeah, we have this awkward situation again. I'm going to attack with these guys. Do you want to block my 1/1 with your 2/2 and give me a Planeswalker?
Or you chump.
Or do you want to chump my Liliana so you can keep your Planeswalker yourself? Realistically,
Awkward all over.
I think you kind of want to chump just to draw another card. Yeah, realistically, I could have seen just chumping there, just to keep the Sorin around and make it that much more likely that you can find a Languish, because I feel like Justin doesn't have one right now.
You also prevent like a Planeswalker happening.
Yeah.
And I think that's the bigger part, because
I mean,
you prevent a Planeswalker and
it wouldn't have prevented the Planeswalker happening here, because this was just a Nentuko Husk that Ben happened to draw this turn.
Sure.
Sacrificing the Zilport Cutthroat, making Liliana flip so he gets the zombie, and now he's activating to plus because he's Hellbent. He can minus to get back that Zilport Cutthroat, but doesn't really need to. Depending on what Ben draws now in the next couple of turns, he realistically could sort of go for a bit of a combo finish with the Zilport Cutthroat and Nentuko Husk. If he draws something like a Catacomb Sifter,
rally style.
yeah, if he's draws a Catacomb Sifter or something like that, he can really do a lot of damage to Justin here.
I think even when you're like he shouldn't have had to do that. Like that Anguish I'm making should have been going to the Nentuko Husk. Someone, yeah, it's Excel. It's.
Yeah, so Anguish Unmaking gets rid of Liliana, just to make sure that, you know, that inevitability of being able to bring back that Cutthroat, sacrifice a few guys, make a gigantic Nentuko Husk gets removed. Gideon does answer this Nentuko Husk pretty well though, just making a knight every turn. You know, Ben can't really go for the free attacks because he doesn't have... You know, this isn't Rally the Ancestors. He can't just sack things and then have this card in his deck that says, I'm going to bring back 10 things and do it all again. So the sacks aren't as free. And just because, yeah, the knights don't cost Justin anything anymore.
You attack with both, you put a blocker in front of both, you sack the 2/2 zombie to pump an Nentuko Husk, so the Nentuko Husk survives. Yeah. And you're not in a great position.
Yeah, that just doesn't seem that appealing to me.
Ben's trying to make this attack and he's just like, I'm attacking Gideon. And I feel like it's more of a bluff, like...
Okay, so he sacks the Cutthroat.
Yeah. None of this is great. Like, the moment Justin draws like an ultimate prize or a Grasp of Darkness, the one piece you've gone all in on is lost and Justin is a Planeswalker. It's really ironic because, I mean, Justin makes this misplay by, you know, -2ing the Liliana and kind of gets punished for it, but then Ben makes these plays that aren't really punishing him for it.
That looked like he was thinking about tapping 4 mana, so I think this one card might be a Collected Company.
Or a bluff.
It could be the sickest of bluffs, but I have a feeling that that is the Blighted Cataract. The
Blighted Fen.
Blighted Fen.
I feel like that was almost the ultimate price. Like, you just kind of hold that up. Yeah, he has 2 lands in hand.
It was the sickest of bluffs. There you go. But it made Justin not just, you know, snap off that sacrifice, get rid of your Nentuko Husk. Except he's going to do it now in a turn, because, you know, what's the worst thing that can happen?
He almost does it. Trying to scare him doesn't happen. Don't try this. Yeah, this is really awful for me, because Justin should be getting very punished for that -2. And he did for like a ton, but he's not. I mean, I'm glad that we're going to have a bigger shot at seeing Game 3 here, but at the same time, you -2 on a 2/3 and then it's not okay.
Yeah, that's a pretty significant misplay. But at the same time, we're seeing how Justin's deck is quite well positioned against Ben's. And also, you got to remember that Ben's on a mulligan of 5 in this game.
I think Ben had a real shot.
He had a real shot there, but he still needed to draw some really powerful cards. And just because... See, I feel like that attack with the zombie and the husk to clear out the knights just didn't favour Ben as well. I feel like that was a pretty big misstep on Ben's behalf, just because, you know, yeah, you're getting rid of tokens, but the tokens don't really cost anything. That's just what Gideon's doing every turn, and you're trading cards for them. And again, yeah, this isn't like the green-black rights deck is not rally. You don't get to sacrifice all of your things, put them in the graveyard, and then go for a huge value rally
Well, the
later in the
closest
game.
thing to rally in this format is March from the Tomb, and
Sure.
and you know it's allies specifically. So
Yeah.
I mean, at the beginning of the season, we looked at like an elf ally deck that played
Mhm.
things like March from the Tomb, things like Calastria Healer with Zulaport Cutthroat and stuff like that, and it was just really weak. Like it saw a removal spell and it kind of just got really scared. Whereas Justin's free here to kind of just be like, all right, deal 2 damage to myself, read the bones, lose to your life, read the bones.
Yeah, read the bones into read the bones, just looking for
Like,
something.
he gets to Alpha here, and Nantuko Husk is just a 2/2 that gets to sacrifice itself if it blocks the Shambling event so that he doesn't gain any life. But
Yeah, I think realistically, Justin just making knights and making knights and making knights, and I just don't think Ben can climb out of this hole, because that's another thing about this green-black deck, which is different to the sort of the 4-color rights deck. It doesn't have a card like Reflector Mage or something in it,
Yeah.
where if Justin attacks with these 2 knights, only leaves 1 knight on defense. You can't have a Reflector Mage to bounce that knight and get him for a huge crack of damage with a Nantuko Husk or something like that. You really are just locked in on playing a bunch of creatures. Justin playing
I
around
think
sort of the one
by the
removal
time
space
Ben
model.
goes company into company, Justin might have found a languish, and as
Yeah.
we can see, he's playing his in Quagmire with 1 card in hand. It's not looking really good.
No. And at this point, he's had 1 card in hand for a couple of turns. You know that that's not going to be a collected company. Well, it's unlikely to be a collected company. It's probably not going to be a creature. It's probably just another land.
I think you might actually, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a Lionel Waste. I might be
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, I think it was the Lenoir Waste, because he had 2 in his hand and there's only 1 in play. So.
Yeah. Justin's actually going to tick up Gideon here,
Yeah.
which is odd because Ben played a Nantuko Husk last time and
Mhm.
basically left up 2 mana, which means he's only got like access to maybe an ultimate price,
Well,
and he didn't. So
yeah, so Justin found Anguish Unmaking off of
okay,
his Read the
sure.
Bones last turn. So now I believe he's just going all in on the attack. And if you have the perfect, this is a collected company, and to draw another collected company, and to make my Nantuko Husk huge, and somewhere in there has to be an ultimate price, because that's a Cletus as well now. I mean, Anguish Unmaking your Nantuko Husk, and yeah.
So it's a Transgress the Mind.
I think it might be Catacomb Sifter.
It's actually Catacomb Sifter, sorry.
Yeah. So
Better
that's
or worse.
one of the better cards that
Yeah.
Ben can draw, but he's sort of so far in the hole at this point.
I mean, his 25-point life total really bought him some time to.
It did.
Bought him quite a number of draw steps. I think now that Justin's been like, alright, take up my Gideon and go ham, like it's a bit more difficult. I think we're going to be seeing a game 3 here. Oh.
Yep, so he's going to
Kill Gideon.
at least try, like,
Yep.
go for the big attack with my
He's
Hissing
either killing a
Quagmire.
Gideon or a Kalidas here.
Yeah, it's at Gideon, so I imagine Justin blocks the Husk with Kalidas and lets the Quagmire through, and then that motivates Ben to sacrifice things to the Husk, and then Anguish Unmaking
Yeah.
gets rid of it. Potentially Justin gets a zombie somewhere in the process, but yep, so only just going for the 1 sack, just to make the Husk a 4/4 and force Justin's hand. Yep, shows the Anguish Unmaking. Removes the Husk. Ben just thinking here, I'm not sure whether he's thinking yep, so sacrifice to itself to get the scry, which does result in Justin getting the zombie
Yep.
there rather than if the Anguish Star Making had resolved.
So Anguish Star Making didn't have a valid target, which meant that
Yeah.
he didn't lose the 3 life either.
Yes, it's sort of a bit of a weird interaction there. Don't think it's going to matter particularly too much.
If Justin has a removal spell, it's game. Oh, he didn't take up his Gideon first.
Okay, so the damage hadn't been resolved on Gideon. Gideon's dice didn't get moved when he's in Quagmire. Attacked it, I think, and then Justin went for the tick up. Like, he sort of one motion plus my Gideon attack you. And yeah.
Right, so it's 1-1 here. Ben puts in a valiant effort to block the biggest attacker and still dies. Like Read the Bones.
Yeah, a Read the Bones could be fine to develop out his hand, or just a Languish. Like, I don't think you're ever possibly shipping a Languish in this matchup.
No, I think that's an Ultimate Price or a Grasp of Darkness too. I think he's basically looking for black spells.
Yep, that's fine. I don't think you're going to push, a castable spell here either on a mulligan to 5. Even if it isn't, your best spell, I think you still want to cast it.
Catacombs, if this is a trigger. Interesting to see whether he fires off a removal spell there, and he does. So no value off the scry for that, but it means that he's definitely going to be getting at least one clue off of his Tireless Tracker with the Westvale Abbey. It's a Duskwatch Recruiter. You can even go like Catacomb Sifter into Duskwatch Recruiter, using the token, or he can just play the Tireless Tracker. I'm usually of the opinion that Tireless Tracker is something better left till later turns. He had a Scion left from the Catacombs.
No.
So he plays this and he can gets another one and he can Tireless Tracker. He can do a lot of things.
He does have a lot of options here. This is sort of the flexibility that the Scions can give you.
Yeah.
And we're seeing just, sort of how good Catacomb Sifter really is. It's sort of an innocuous creature, 2, 3 for 3 with an extra
whether
1/1.
Justin can go land into Languish, like whether that's real or his mulligan to 5.
Definitely. But yeah, we get to see that Justin traded a card for the 2/3 body of Catacomb Sifter and left around that 1/1. And then that 1/1 can, produce mana. So just,
I mean, less so than Rally, but still quite likewise. Everything in this deck is a 2-for-1.
Yeah, it can be. It's sort of multiple bodies or
collected
multiple
company.
value, yeah.
Like everything does something.
Mhm.
I think the most useless creature is probably Blood Dryad.
Yeah, but I mean that's effectively just your mana dork.
So he does end up, stacking the token, getting a scry, and playing Duskwatch Recruiter.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Just committing to the board and holding back on that Tireless Tracker for a bit later, potentially to see, play Tireless Tracker, play a land, crack the clue in one sort of turn cycle.
Yep.
Potentially with holding up Ultimate Price as well to answer a Kalidas on Justin's turn. But yeah, it looks like we've got a case of Koilos for Justin here. It'll be interesting to see if he has a Languish, if he wants to pull the trigger on the Languish. It would cut Ben off potentially activating that Duskwatch Recruiter as well, so cut down on the card advantage. Possible angle there.
I think Ben's assumed a bit of an aggressive one, just like cracking in since he doesn't have something like the Cryptolith, right? Is that a Languish?
Yeah.
We see a Languish. Ben is going to get to scry twice.
Yep. So he gets 2 Scry 1s. Just looking at this first one, still deciding. But it's interesting to see as well, Justin just firing off the Languish here for sort of a 2-for-1. Not looking to let the board grow out to, a really wide state, not being greedy, just happy to...
I think in a position where you definitely don't have the card advantage, where you haven't fired off or Read the Bones, you just need to keep what you can in check.
And he does have 4 Languishes in his deck. There are more Languishes to draw. And it's important that Justin doesn't fall behind in these early turns, I think. I think that's probably, one of the most important things for him here, is just to make sure that he isn't down on, 5 life going into turn 6 or 7 or something like that, so that he can then play his powerful planeswalkers like Sorin. Okay, we see Ruinous Path come out, just kill that Liliana, go 1-for-1 and play a land.
Yeah. Justin's still got 2 cards in hand, and It's not a great place to be, but it's still pretty good for a mulligan to 5 to have done as much as he has and still have those cards in hand, which goes to show how well like black-white control trades.
Yeah.
It'll trade 1 for 1 and then it'll go, all right, here's a 3 for 1.
Yeah. We do see the turn 5 tireless tracker play a land, get the clue, and have the potential to crack that land straight away, or ultimate price. Potential Kalidas.
Yep. So as long as Justin stops drawing lands here,
yeah,
draws us on it.
Yeah, I think that having the Sorin here is going to be pretty big.
Minus is 3 this time, making good decisions.
Minus is 3 to prevent, the sacking of the clue from saving Tyler's tracker there. Doesn't go for the 2 and hit a 3 toughness creature. But Ben is going to sack the clue now. Just to draw a card. Gain that. Sort of gain a bit of tempo there as,
So I mean, Ben's making his land drops.
He is, which at this point is not exactly what he wants to do.
No.
But he will activate his Hissing Quagmire, attack Sorin down to 1, and then play a Duskwatch Recruiter. So
he's going to finish the Sorin off soon. I think step 1 is picking up Sorin and drawing that card, even if it deals no damage.
So
I spoke too soon.
he had to go up on Sorin, so I think it's definitely the first thing you do.
Yeah.
Get an extra card, see a bit more information.
He doesn't even have a Shambling Vent as a blocker at this point.
Yeah.
So that Sorin is unfortunately dying unless Justin has a removal spell for it. I mean, Ben could very well go activate Hissing Quagmire, attack with both at Sorin, but I don't think that's the best idea.
Ben also has an Transgress the Mind in his hand here,
wow.
so he can sort of fire off a Transgress if he'd like.
Nope.
So he's chosen.
He doesn't even leave up Transgress mana because he can't. He had the choice between attacking Sorin with the Hissing Quagmire or transgressing, and he takes the more aggressive route. He's attacking with both, which means Justin needs 2 removal spells. We know that one of them is a land, so I think he's just taking the time to remove a creature and letting Sorin die.
Yeah, and just because the way Ben has sort of sequenced his turn like that with, activating Hissing Quagmire and attacking, it makes sure that Ben can't activate the Duskwatch Recruiter in response to a removal spell or something like that.
It does also mean that he's not really, like Justin could be playing a Gideon here.
And he is.
Signature card. Which, I mean, how do you feel about Ben not transgressing and instead choosing to send 2 creatures at the Sorin? Obviously it paid off, but...
I mean, it's that awkward situation of the removal spell would have answered the 1 creature attack, but yeah, not getting to transgress that Gideon's a pretty big deal.
He has to run a company, but like you were saying earlier, like this deck doesn't have Reflector Mage. It can't go, it's just like, it's not as much as a blowout because you always know what's happening. If they play company, you're not playing around Reflector Mage or Bounding Crisis or Eldrazi Displacer, you're playing around Loam Dryad, Elvish Visionary, Duskwatch Recruiter, Nantuko Husk, Liliana.
Yeah, that's sort of the thing. It's more of, rather than having threats that affect the board immediately, they're threats that sort of produce some kind of advantage over time.
We're going to see a company fight off. He does have an ultimate price in hand as well from before. And of course that transgressed the mind. So his company definitely hits. He could go double Elvish Visionary, draw 2 cards. He could go Tireless Tracker, Zulaport Cutthroat. I think that is also Vile Redeemer. It's not so good when you're casting it off company, just to...
No.
Which is why I found it to be like an awkward choice.
Well, it's sort of, it's awkward, but at the same time it's not. Like, it is a hit off company, it's just a 3/3. So it's not kind of one of those cards where you bring it in and you go, I'm making my companies worse. Yeah. But yeah, it's not the optimal case. But here...
I reckon Ben's like, can I take a company off this company? Because that'd be sweet. That's what I think he's like.
Yeah, I mean, that would be, the best option. Company into play,
company again. I think he definitely has to take a tireless tracker, and he does choose to take the Vile Redeem. Yep, because it blocks really well in this point in
It
time.
blocks, and yeah, with the ultimate price in hand, it actually attacks really well, because I could see an ultimate price on the knight here. Ben showing that he's willing to do things like that. So yeah, I think that the line here was just to take things that can sort of attack through
I
the
think Ben
knights.
understands that Gideon can impact his game plan.
Yeah.
Because eventually Ben's deck needs to attack in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, so he gets a land from his draw step to make a clue off the tireless tracker, and I imagine we'll see a big attack at Gideon here.
But again, it's at the cost of a Transgress the Mind, which is okay at this point in time because Justin has no cards in hand.
Yeah. But that is sort of an awkward situation with Transgress as well, is that most of the cards that Justin is going to draw now, that are his threats at least, he's just going to play.
I think
straight away.
Justin's considering whether to block the Hissing Quagmire with his token because that kills it.
He's also possibly thinking about
Shambling
an
Vents.
activation of Shambling
Yeah.
Vents, trading lands with Ben potentially.
Yeah. Double blocking.
Because if he does block with the Shambling Vents on the land and then chumps with the knight, Gideon will survive.
I also kind of like it because it really does restrict Ben on his black sources.
Definitely.
Like, at this point in time, Ben has a choice between activating Quagmire or casting a spell.
Yep.
I think, he's also forcing Ben to crack a clue here. Otherwise, his tireless tracker dies.
Yeah, it does force him to commit the mana right now, rather than having potentially
It makes
other things up.
Justin going untapped Languish a better option. But again, Justin's playing off the top of his deck at this point.
So, yeah, this is the alternative option here to block the other way. I don't think it changes too much.
I think Gideon's still going to 1.
Yeah. I'm not too sure that
There's a Cutthroat in hand, a Husk, and a Transgress.
Yeah, awkwardly, all sort of black spells, and now with that Hissing Quagmire having died, only black source is that one swamp. So, yeah, it's sort of that awkward situation that Ben doesn't really want to draw any more lands, but if you... Oh!
Languish.
That is a languish.
Did I call it?
So, yeah.
I just think that at this point what Ben's doing is just being superseded by what Justin's deck can do off the top.
Yeah.
There
larger...
are such high life totals.
They are, but the larger threats that are coming out of Justin's deck are really just going to take over this game, I think, going forward.
Like we were talking about. I mean, Ben's deck is really good uncommons.
Yes. All of his creatures are so sort of, granular and incremental that drawing sort of one card at a time, so difficult for him to come back at this
He
point,
does draw, I believe, a Rogue's Passage.
Yeah, it looks like a Rogue's Passage. Could potentially set up a situation where you can kill Gideon.
Yep.
Just because Justin is still playing off the top, it's very real that Ben can play 2 spells this turn.
Mm-hmm.
But he can only play 1 because he only has 1 black source and everything in his hand costs black mana.
Yeah. He hasn't played, notably, he hasn't played the Rogue's Passage either.
Yeah.
Because he's seen Justin attack with the Shambling Vent to try and push some damage through, gain some life as well.
Looks like we're going to see that again. Just an activation on Shambling Vents, and then...
I mean, he has nothing to fear. There's no collected company here.
Yeah.
And I think in Justin's mind, he feels as though he's making a knight anyway, which is going to be able to block the one creature that Ben has. Plus, we don't know what's in his hand.
Yeah, he's really committed to just making a knight every turn, just because that is... it's putting pressure on Ben, and it's just answering that Nantuko Husk so effectively.
Do you transgress before activating the Rogue's Passage, or do you just...
I think if you're going to transgress before you start doing things...
You probably want to do it before you play the Rogue's Passage?
Yeah, you do it before you play the Rogue's Passage. Ben opting to play the Cutthroat, and then...
I think you played the Cutthroat first and then the Rogue's Passage. I think that it was slight sequencing.
Oh, and he has the grasp of darkness.
Yeah.
That's quite brutal there, because the sacrifice of the Zulaport Cutthroat
Just
doesn't
makes it
change
awful.
anything.
Yeah.
Ben sunk all of his mana into activating the Rogue's Passage at this point.
Yeah.
So-
So Ben is on essentially 16.
Yeah, I imagine that.
And he has another Gideon in hand. Or possibly he's got a land and a Gideon, I believe, off with the bones that he could spray to the bottom.
Yeah, I imagine that we'll see a plus off Gideon this turn,
Yep.
and then either leaving back the Shambling Vents, probably the Shambling Vents because it plays around Ultimate Price as a blocker
Yep.
for Gideon, just getting in there for 9 damage,
Depending
and then
on what he
just
draws,
presenting
of
2
course.
turn lethal.
Oh, that's a Hallowed Moonlight, sorry, not a land. It's Hallowed Moonlight Gideon.
So Justin just looking like he wants to keep Hallowed Moonlight.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, Ben hasn't represented Coco, but a Coco off the top could set Justin in, a more difficult position. So I think, because you can hold up Shambling Vent and Hallowed Moonlight, because you use the Shambling Vent to tap for a mana for the Hallowed Moonlight.
I think that keeping both is completely reasonable there.
No.
Yeah, I mean, this is another option. Just go aggressive with everything. From the Read the Bones, you have the second Gideon there, so, he's completely just prepared.
And he's only got 1 point of damage on the board. So the Cutthroat would only put Gideon, if it doesn't block, that is. I mean, that's 2, 4, 6, that's 11 points of damage.
It's just very, very difficult for Ben to come back here.
I just feel as though, like, if you're keeping the Hallowed Moonlight, you probably want to be able to cast it. Like,
Yeah, it's sort of an interesting spot of, choosing to keep the Hallowed Moonlight but not actually holding it up.
again,
I mean,
no punishment. Ben's just running lands, non-black lands.
I feel like even if he had drawn a Collected Company there, it might have drawn the game out for like 1 more turn, but it's just not going to make a big difference. So
Draw another Gideon.
that was the Transgress the Gideon in your hand. Justin's draw step is a Gideon.
Good.
But we're just going to see a plus on Gideon activation on Shambling Vents and swing.
Ben's on 5.
Yep.
Really good game. Kind of hoped for something more like that across the other 3. Unfortunately, there were just too many mulligans and hiccups everywhere for that to happen.